August 5th, 2011, a new YouTube channel appears out of nowhere. Avaloop, Unbeatable Deals in Aviation. 4 videos drop. That same day, young women dressed as flight attendants, pitching discounts on flying lessons, private jets. 24 hours later, the channel is abandoned. No new uploads, 24 hours of life. That's all it took to spark a mystery that, over a decade later, still hasn't been solved. One question sits at the center of it all. What is Avaloop? And the deeper you dig, the more disturbing the details get. This is the story of Avaloop, one of the strangest unsolved mysteries the internet has ever produced.
Welcome to Avaloop, your collective buying website for anything aviation.
Avaloop presented itself as a group buying platform for flights, a middleman connecting customers with airlines through collective deals. If enough people joined an offer, the deal would activate. If not, everyone got their money back. At first glance, it all looked completely innocent. But Avaloop was nothing like it claimed to be. The moment you actually opened the site, that illusion started to fall apart. Almost nothing on it backed up the business model it claimed to run. Nearly every single offer on the platform was marked expired, with an end date set in 1969. Every single one. No exceptions. This wasn't a typo on one listing. It was a pattern across the entire site. And that date wasn't just impossible. It doubled as another sexual joke. Yes, that was the vibe of the whole thing. No customer reviews could be found. Not a single piece of evidence that anyone had ever actually used this service. The only proof that a real person had ever interacted with this company at all was an Avaloop logo patch that surfaced on eBay years later, sold by someone who looked more like a patch collector than an actual customer. So what was actually being sold here? Because the closer you look at this site, the less it looks like a platform for cheap flight deals. And that's where the second, much darker theory comes in. The so-called deal attendants on the site weren't just there for decoration. Visitors were literally invited to vote for their favorite girl, and the winner would do a private one-on-one video call. Read that again. Not a discount, not a product, a private video call with one of these girls. And the site made sure to emphasize that. It claimed the models weren't just attractive. They were genuinely engaging to talk to, and not everyone could say they'd had a video call with a supermodel. That's the moment the deal attendants stop looking like a marketing gimmick. They start looking like the actual product. And then came the detail that turned ordinary viewers into real internet detectives. In the background of one video, underneath the girl's rehearsed lines, there's a sound.
By the flying bug, and you want to add multi-engine to your pretty green license, this is your opportunity.
A moan, loud enough that even the host on camera seems to react to it for a split second. A lot of viewers refuse to believe that was an accident. And it's definitely not the kind of sound you'd expect to hear during a normal professional shoot. In another video, people noticed something even creepier. Underneath the girl's voice, many viewers swore they could make out one word.
You want to learn to fly, charter an airplane, or to see more girls like me? Avaloop can help.
Help? On top of all that, buried somewhere in the fine print, was a requirement that buyers had to provide a valid medical certificate just to be eligible to purchase an offer. For a service tied to air travel, that's an incredibly strange requirement. But looked at through the lens of the prostitution theory, it suddenly starts to make sense. That kind of requirement could be used to reduce the risk of disease spreading between clients. None of this proves anything on its own. But put it all together, the questionable business model, girls who look like an actual product, strange sounds in the background of videos, and a medical certificate requirement. And you get a theory that's not so easy to brush off. And from there, the story only got darker. Who created Avaloop? For years, the trail went cold right there. In 2016, the site finally vanished from the internet, leaving nothing behind but a blank white page. Then, in 2019, it came back. The flight attendants from the ads were gone. The videos, the suggestive hints, the vague promises, all of it had disappeared. In its place was a generic, faceless website that barely even looked like it was selling anything. With one exception. At the very bottom of the page, a new detail appeared. The kind that's easy to miss. A short bio. But this time, it wasn't about one of the girls from the promo videos. This was a real person with a first and last name. An actual professional pilot. Her name was Nadia Marenko. And, according to the site, she was the one who created Aviloop. This detail changes the entire story. Nadia wasn't just some random name slapped onto a sketchy operation. She really was a high-level pilot, and before that, a successful teen model. Under the alias Gulfstream Girl, she built a substantial online following, racking up millions of views with her image as a supermodel-turned-pilot. She didn't hide from the public. She gave interviews. She personally represented Aviloop at an actual aviation trade show. If this was some secret criminal operation, Nadia was shockingly bad at keeping it covered up. And on the surface, that just supports the simplest theory. A young, ambitious entrepreneur with a marketing idea that simply flopped, nothing more. But Nadia Marenko had a connection she never once mentioned publicly. A connection that turns this entire story upside down. A man named Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein Connection. If that name doesn't ring a bell, Jeffrey Epstein was one of the most notorious figures in modern American history when it comes to the sexual exploitation and trafficking of minors. A wealthy financier who, for decades, used his money, connections, and private island to exploit children, recruiting and transporting underage girls, until he was finally arrested. And Nadia Marenko wasn't just some acquaintance of his, she was one of his earliest documented victims. As a teenager, she was pulled into his orbit through the modeling industry. By her own account, she eventually became what she herself described as Epstein's sex slave. But her story as a victim doesn't end there. According to testimony from several women who came forward against Epstein during the investigations of the 2000s, Nadia, by then an adult, allegedly became part of that same system herself. Multiple accusers named her directly in their statements. In 2008, Epstein struck his now infamous plea deal and served just 13 months behind bars. As part of that same deal, Nadia was granted full legal immunity. No charges were ever filed against her. After that, she continued visiting Epstein in prison, reportedly around 70 times. She even made him a handmade memorial photo album. Then, in 2012, her role in his circle shifted again. She became one of Epstein's pilots. According to numerous reports and witness testimony, she was the one flying his associates and alleged victims to his private island, on the plane that would later become infamous as the Lolita Express. Sit with that timeline for a second. Aviloop launches. Nadia starts flying for Jeffrey Epstein, just months apart. The same woman in both places. Two seemingly unrelated chapters of one life. At least until you ask yourself, were they ever really unrelated? The trafficking theory. Which brings us to the third theory, the one almost nobody wants to believe, that Aviloop was never actually a discount service, or a prostitution front, or even a porn site in the traditional sense. Instead, intentionally or not, it might have functioned as a recruiting tool, a way to find new girls. Look at the setup itself. Young women, billed as models, show up in the ads. With zero age verification, vague promises of flying somewhere, meeting important clients, becoming the new face of the brand. That structure looks unsettlingly similar to the recruitment method Epstein himself used for years. Pulling girls in through the modeling industry, with promises of career opportunities and big paychecks, And the messages between Epstein and Nadia make the picture even more disturbing, in one exchange discussing the Aviloop site directly. Epstein reportedly described it as a mashup of porn, Groupon, and aviation. Financial records show he wasn't just commenting on the project from the sidelines, he was sending it money, real payments, documented in his own correspondence. The same messages include him asking about booking flights through the service. At one point, Nadia offers him something specific through the platform. In her own words, a new model, or an assistant. Then there's the email researchers keep coming back to more than any other. Subject line, young, hairy coconuts. Inside, it talks about ordering sweet young coconuts from overseas and having them delivered to a specific address, in time for an upcoming visit. Epstein was notorious for using coded language in his messages, which is exactly why so many researchers flagged this one. Was it just a weird inside joke between two old acquaintances, or something else, hidden behind ordinary words that mean nothing to outsiders, but carry a very different meaning to the people actually in the conversation? Chances are, nobody outside that exchange will ever know for sure. The end. In the end, it was Nadia who helped bring Epstein's whole operation down, after cutting a deal with the FBI. She gave testimony that helped lead to his arrest in 2019. That same year, Epstein died in his jail cell, never making it to trial. And it's no coincidence that's exactly when Aviloop suddenly resurfaces, completely scrubbed clean. No innuendo, no double meanings, none of the stuff that once made this thing so bizarre, like someone really wanted the original version of the site to disappear from memory as fast and as quietly as possible. Not long after, Nadia all but vanishes from public life. The last confirmed sighting of her comes from photos taken at a convent. We'll probably never know for certain what Aviloop actually was. A failed startup with bad marketing, a prostitution front, or something far darker, hiding in plain sight, behind the smile of a girl in a cheap flight attendant costume. But one thing we do know for sure, a YouTube channel that lasted exactly one day, turned out to be connected to people who were deep inside Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle. And that fact alone is enough to turn a forgotten internet ad into one of the strangest mysteries of early YouTube. And somewhere among the archived videos and a handful of old emails, written in language that's half plain, half coded. That question is still sitting there, unanswered. What was Aviloop?